I haven't had like a legitimate tournament win yet. Having a win under my belt would be really nice.
I don't think anybody on the team's ever had like a first place finish.
솔직히 이번 시즌 초기에는 그냥 생각한 게 좀 배우는 마음으로 하자는 팀적으로 그런 생각을 했는데 점점 상위권 팀 잡고 욕심이 생기다 보니 한 번쯤은 북미에서 우승하고 싶고 항상 저희가 그래비티랑 경기했을 때 탑정글 싸움에서 무조건 이겼거든요. 그거 때문에 좀 그쪽에서 좀 두려워하지 않을까 생각이 들어요.
They're a pretty strong team overall. I don't really know if they have any like big weaknesses. It's just up to us to outplay them as a team.
We grew a lot at the end of the season, and I think we're just going to carry that over through playoffs. We can actually like make a run.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to day 2 of our NALCS spring playoffs. The fans are ready here in Los Angeles to cheer on their favorite teams, and they should be after some exciting games in Europe today. Hopefully just as exciting games coming our way here in North America. Tip walking into the studio a short time ago. They'll be facing off against Gravity. St. Vicious warming up with some time on the Rift. Got his earphones in the last Shadow making his last-minute notes as well. Good to have him here, I'm sure, for the playoffs. Hello, everyone. I'm James Patterson, and if yesterday was any indication, anything can happen in today's quarterfinal showdown. Now, joining me on the desk to share their league knowledge is Eugene Pobelter Park from Winter Fox, and fresh off his historic and prestigious win with the old league organization, Alex Each. How you guys doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Excited to be here, excited for some games?
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, well, we have to start the day by bringing up the playoff bracket to see where the team stands. So today we will see whether it's Team Impulse or Gravity that advances to the semifinals to face our number 1 seed Team Solo Mid. And in the top half of the bracket, Team Liquid won our first quarterfinal series, besting CLG in a neat 3-0 sweep. They'll advance to the semifinals where they'll battle the second seed Cloud9. And of course, all these teams are vying for championship points that become hugely important as teams look to qualify for a spot at Worlds. So gentlemen, I kind of want to get your general thoughts on yesterday's matchup as a whole, because I do believe it caught a lot of people off guard to watch Team Liquid 3-0 CLG.
Yeah, I actually expected CLG to win the set, like either 3-0 or 3-1, because with the level that they've been playing all season long, I thought that they just like destroy Team Liquid. But yeah, I mean, it ended up turning out to be completely opposite. I think that it's because some of the players on CLG aren't as comfortable when playoffs come around.
Yeah, so Alex, I mean, there's a bit of that kind of choke factor that we've talked about with CLG, but on the side of Liquid, they definitely stepped up in that series.
So I think that Team Liquid finally found their synergy, especially like with Piglet. I felt that they didn't really feel that confident, and I've heard they were doing much better in scrims, but when it was coming to the LCS games, they were actually not that on point. And when I was speaking to the Dominate, he said that he didn't know what was happening. So I'm really glad that they stepped up, and I really hope for a closer series there. But I think it all depended on like first 2 games, because I think third game CLG was already like out, because I think there are a lot of like moral players there, and after the first game when they were leading and lost, it shook them hard. And like you could see in the second game, for example, like Smithy missing a lot of like skill shots and everything. And overall, I think in the second games, all the pick was based on Sejuani landing those ultimates. And after it didn't go, like the third game, they were just out. I don't think they could overcome like the tilt already.
Right, so Pobelter, this kind of mentality of, well, we were ahead in the beginning of the game, or the first game, we lost, and then things kind of started to snowball in the wrong direction for CLG. How do you as a player stop mid-series and recollect yourself in order to make the adjustments so that you don't tilt in the wrong direction?
Yeah, so I mean, that's something that I've actually struggled with a lot, like tilting on stage, and I think that CLG honestly has a bit of a tougher time getting over it and like keeping focus, because, you know, like during the season they won a ton, you know, they didn't have many moments where they were losing. And so when you're winning all the time and then suddenly you start losing, then, you know, it can lead to an uncomfortable situation. Maybe someone stops talking as much, and then so that just leads to like decreased communication, and that can really have an effect on everyone without enough info going around.
And then finally, Alex, I want to talk about the mid lane picks yesterday, because Phoenix pulled out 3 different mid laners. He had Vladimir, I believe. Then I'm gonna forget all of them. But you have three different mid laners. The versatility there and the depth of champion pools that we've seen in the mid lane. How do you see that kind of shaping out here in playoffs? Which champions are going to be the strongest picks going through these next couple weeks?
I think that Phoenix is like, he just takes the champions that are like played in solo queue or like other regions and then tries them out. I think it's like Kin is doing the same. So basically they like look really similar. And I think it's really good in terms of the versatility because you don't know what to expect from your enemy. And like he can pick more champions in the favorable for him matchup, or he picks the champion that the enemy doesn't know the counter pick or he's not comfortable to play against. And if he's comfortable with that champion himself, it works in his favor a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Keen, who we'll be seeing today, has a relatively deep champion pool as well. I'll be curious to see if he comes out with anything special today, as we saw plenty of new stuff come out in Europe. Well, to give us a preview of today's action, we're going to send it over to Jat, who's standing by with Gravity's head coach.
Thank you, Dash. And yes, I'm joined by Last Shadow. I just have to start off, mid-season acquisition as a coach. Since you joined, you're 5-4. Really, how would you gauge your success as a coach thus far?
I think the success has been reasonably well. Because basically my goal when coming in wasn't to do massive changes immediately. I aimed more towards the future and grafting rotational play and everything else like that, which takes time. So I think it's completely fine.
Awesome stuff. And now playoffs are obviously kind of the testing ground for that. You guys have also beaten teams like TSM and Cloud9 this year as Gravity, but you're still kind of considered a middle of the pack team. How do you guys take that next step to be a top North American team?
I think the next step for us is just continuing to round out our rotational play and work on our early game. Because right now, I think post 30 minutes or something, I'm really confident in my team, and I think we all are as a team. So everything moving forward will just be working on lane swaps, rotational play early game, and objective control early.
All right, well, thank you very much, Last Shadow. Good luck today. We're actually going to rotate across the stage to Riv, who's standing by with the other coach.
Thank you very much, Jat. I am on the side of Team Impulse here as they are about to embark on their playoff journey. I'm joined by Coach Fly as well as JJ here to translate. My first question is, Team Impulse ended the split, one of the hottest teams in North America. What are you doing going into playoffs to keep the gentleman's mind in the game, in the gameplay?
네, 이번 시즌 스플릿 때 팀 임팩트가 엄청난 활약을 펼쳐가지고 지금 핫한 팀인데 오늘은 그 플레이오프를 위해서 어떤 중점으로 준비를 하셨나요?
저희는 정말 팀워크 중심적으로 커뮤니케이션과 빠른 템포로 운영을 하기 위해 많은 연습을 했어요.
I practiced a lot for teamwork and fast tempo gaming, and then a lot of communication for the team to prepare for today's game.
And my next question, with TIP being such a young team, how did you prepare for playoffs?
지금 TIP가 계속 발전하는 팀인데 이 플레이오프 시즌을 위해서 어떤 계획을 가지고 계신지, 어떻게 준비하는 그 과정을 있나요?
그냥 한 경기 한 경기 최선을 다하는 것뿐이고 이번 경기가 저희 발전에 좀 큰 영향을 줄 것 같아요. 이번 경기도 이기면 저희는 더 높은 단계를 향해 올라갈 것 같아요.
We're trying to play one game at a time. And as we win today's game, it's going to give us a confidence boost. So we just want to one step at a time, and then continue on with the season.
All right, Fly. One final question: have we seen the best that TIP has to offer yet?
지금 TIP가 보여줄 수 있는 모든 것을 보여주셨나요?
아직은 한참 멀은 것 같아요. 저희가 어떻게 보면 좀 합류도 좀 늦었고 아직 시간이 더 주어졌다면 더 좋은 모습을 보여줬을 텐데 하는 아쉬움이 항상 있어요. 시간 좀 더 있다면 저희는 더 큰 변화를 할 거라고 확신해요.
Absolutely not. There's much more to come for TIP. I, Fly, joined the team late in the season. So if I joined earlier, we'd have much more time to prepare and plan for things to come. But fear not, we have still a lot to show and a lot more to expect.
Well, your time here appreciated before the games is much appreciated. So we will be throwing it now over to Dash to get this day started.
Thank you, Riv. Now, so far, the split Team Impulse are 2-0 against Gravity, and they have only seemed to have gotten stronger and stronger as the season goes on. So my first question has to be to you, Pobelter, because they are sitting at in that number 4 seed at the moment. Do you feel that's actually representative of their strength relative to the rest of the league as they were on an upward swing at the end of the split?
Yeah, I think that is where I would place them too. Considering, they're still TSM, they're still C9, they're still CLG, who even though they didn't play too well in playoffs, they did great during the season. So I think 4th is a good spot for them.
All right, and one of the question marks on this team, though, given that they've had a little bit of inconsistency, has been Xiao Zhao in the mid lane. Alex Each, what do you feel about his play? Because he's had some underwhelming picks. For example, Yasuo into Zed against Pobelter here, which didn't go so well for him. But then his play on those champions has been a little underwhelming as well.
I think that Yasuo into Zed is like, I don't know, it feels like underestimating the enemy or something. Because when you're playing against a player of your level or higher level, it's like really hard to play. So Yasuo, maybe it was just like their pick that they were training and it didn't go that well in the laning phase. I think overall, like Zhao got his picks that he's like doing really well on. There are like other picks that he's picking that I think suit their team, but he's not doing that great on them himself. But I think that it is the thing that team decides, and it's not like completely his decision. So maybe sometimes he doesn't feel comfortable. Though I think about Yasuo, it was like more of his decision because I think he is like one of his favorite champions, and he really wanted to play it.
Yeah, it's always been a question for us as to whether or not that's him just saying, I love Yasuo, so I want to play it, even when it's not necessarily the best choice in the scenario. Now, lastly, Pobelter, this split, Team Impulse, they've played down to the level of their opponents to a certain extent, where we've seen them dominate against top-level teams, sometimes run away with it from, minute one. And then, again, some of the lower teams in the standings, we've watched them struggle, and perhaps because of a little bit of hubris. Do you think there's a danger coming in 2-0 against Gravity that they are, they approach it with a bit of overconfidence?
I think that's just the sort of playstyle that Tip has. They play pretty reactionary to what the other team's doing, I think, and so if the other team is, playing pretty tight, then they're also going to respond and then like poke holes in that. But if the other team is not playing, up to the standard of like TSM or C9, then they don't see as much to play off, maybe. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, on the other side, we have Gravity, who, despite being the lower seed, have shown that at any time they can take down a top team, including teams like Cloud9 and TSM. So, Alex Each, given that they're coming in 0-2, how does that weigh on a player's mentality, knowing that you're going into a best-of-5 series? So you have to win 3 games, and you've never beaten this team before.
I don't think they care much. Like, if I was playing, I wouldn't care if I lost to that team or win the team, especially in playoffs. Because I think that both like TIP and Gravity, they stepped up a lot, like coming closer to playoffs. They were playing better and better. Like Gravity, I think they worked on their drafts really well and on their like rotational plays, and I think that it works like really in their favor, especially in this matchup. And I think that actually like, even though a lot of people think that TIP are favorites, I think that it should be really close.
Gravity is known for having a relatively deep champion pool to pull from and some interesting strategies as a team to pick from. Pobelter, do they have enough tricks up their sleeves to get through an entire best-of-5 series?
So I think that all the weird picks that we've seen from Gravity have pretty much been in the mid lane. Keem plays like Urgot, Keem plays Vladimir, but I think we've seen pretty much everything strange that's going to come out. So I think that Gravity will just rely on their pretty strong late game, and I don't think they'll be coming out with any more gimmicks.
All right, well, one player that we don't necessarily have to worry about is Kopp, who's been very consistent all year long, and he's been here in the LCS since there even was an LCS. He's come a long way from those early beginnings, but he says the goals remain the same.
I don't know, just as many negative things you can think of. I pretty much got everything. But I would still look at it, which is kind of stupid in my opinion, but it's like really hard to ignore though. I persevered through it with a lot of help from my team, like Elements, Steve, all them like talking to me every day. That really, I guess, made me a stronger person in terms of, it pulled me sort of out of the introverted lifestyle. It got me to speak up. I think it overall helped me. That PAX, when we somehow ended up 4th against LMQ,
They make the comeback a reality. LMQ, you're headed to the World Championship.
And for Curse, it does stop once again at 4th place.
I was right there to like achieving my like biggest goal in League of Legends, which is just making it to Worlds. I don't know. There's just so much disappointment in the team. We're all just really disappointed in ourselves. It's probably the most devastating thing I've ever dealt with in my life, just because I was so close, but still just didn't make it. And I was told we were gonna try out new AD carries. I don't know, this is devastating. It's like right after a loss and then being told I was basically gonna be replaced. This is, I wanted to like try new things with a new team, new management, everything, and just start from the bottom again and like see if I could make it and see if I had what it takes. Being on Gravity, it's just like a fresh start and it gives me like another chance to make Worlds with this brand new team that I really like playing with. I haven't really left the mark I've wanted to leave yet on the League community. I guess I'm just consistent, which I'm not really content with. With Gravity, I still have like my mark to leave, and I think I'll showcase that this season. I want to show that I have the drive. I want to show that I have what it takes to be like the best, and I hope that I'm able to show that.
So I've been playing with Cop since like the very start. Like pre-LCS, we were on a team 3 or so years together on Curse, and he was an okay player then, and I think he's come a lot since, and I think he's gotten like a lot of flack from the community for not being like a doublelift or a sneaky type player that just like goes super ham and 1v5 carries. And I think it does take a lot of endurance to, you know, ignore all the bad things that people say about you. And like, honestly, a lot of players have like retired because of all the negativity from the community. So a lot of respect to Cop.
Absolutely. It's a feat in and of itself to have been in the LCS for this long, let alone perform at a relatively high level. Now, as we mentioned before, teams are battling for more than just the title of North American champions. Teams are competing for championship points. And while the winner of the summer split automatically gets the first seed to Worlds, points will play an important role in determining the second seed and third seed from the North American LCS. So, gentlemen, given the fact that now there's so much weight on where you finish in the spring split, I mean, the pressure that builds here on each individual best-of-5 series from 6th to 1st place is rather big. Would you not agree?
I think it depends on what team is like going for and what their goals are. And that pressure can work in both ways, depending on like the team's mindset. Like, for example, you see some teams working better under pressure, some working worse, or some teams, for example, I think don't really set that high goals, even though they, of course, want to be at Worlds. And I think it can work in their favor because if they don't feel under pressure, they can play much better compared to the teams that feel a lot of pressure.
All right, well, now it's time to put you guys in a pressure situation. I'm going to ask you for your predictions on this series. How many games do you think it'll be won? And Pobelter, we'll start with you.
I'm going to go with a 3-1 for Gravity. TIP will win the second game, but Gravity will win the first, third, and fourth game.
Wow, very specific. I like that. All right, over here, Alex, what are we going with?
Actually, I think that Gravity win too. I don't know why, but it's just like the feeling. Sometimes you get it. So
you think a similar series like 3-1?
Yeah, I actually think that I don't think this series will go to 3-2, even if TIP wins. So I think it should be 3-1.
3-1. There you have it. 3-1 in favor of Gravity for both of these gentlemen. Let's see how that compares to the vote on lolesports.com, where right now 63% are predicting Team Impulse are going to move on to the semifinals. So we have a little competition going on here. I like that. Well, next we want to take a minute to throw out a question to all of you watching. What is the most dangerous player-champion combo in the NALCS and why? For example, Pobelter on Zed, because he is the best ZNA, baby. Send your Twitter gems to @LawLegendEsports and be sure to address them with the hashtag LCS. Now, if you want to do a little research for your responses, head to LawLesports.com for stats, box scores, and player profiles. Also there, you can learn how to get your tickets for our upcoming midseason invitational kicking off in Tallahassee, Florida on May 7th. Hit the tickets link for all the details. There you have it. get to LOL Esports, enjoy it. But now we're going to send it over to the guys on the caster desk to get the series underway.
Thank you very much, Dash. Hello, everyone. I am Rivington Bisland III, along with David Freak Turley and Joshua Jatt Leesman this time.
Both of us.
Both?
Indeed, all of us. All three again together. We're going to be pretty happy.
I gotta get louder.
All right, now there we go. I don't want to hear you anyway, but now I guess we have to.
We're gearing up for our first game of this quarterfinal series between Team Impulse and Gravity. Impulse started the split slow. I think we all saw that as well. They didn't have impact right at the first, but have since ramped up to full speed and finished the split looking like one of the strongest teams in the league.
Yeah, and I mean, so much of that starts with Rush. They rely heavily on success. And Rush is a guy who is constantly looking to make big plays. He's even made big plays in situations where he is outnumbered, which is crazy for normal professional play, but he's been able to do it. Sometimes his gambles don't work out, but more often than not, it pays off big and creates a ton of pressure for the team.
Yeah, and speaking of pressure for the team, I mean, Rush has been playing these early game fighter junglers for the most part, but he's been trying a little bit recently to adapt to 5.6. You can see Lee Sin, Vi, the Rek'Sai, the Nidalee, big things for him, and some of these champions are still there, but him trying to learn different things. I remember looking at his solo queues, Irene was telling me about it, he had 10 Sejuani losses in a row. He's trying to learn the tanks, and I'm not sure that's going to happen for him necessarily. Also talking about Impact in the top lane, Impact has actually been amazing. Impact's played pretty much everything under the sun in the top lane. And whether it's a carry champion or not, he keeps carrying on it anyway.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing to watch him play.
Well, he said both times they played Gravity, they've won the jungle and top lane matchup. It's definitely something that Gravity has to take into account. But Xiao has also not been as consistent as we would expect when he was the summer MVP for 2014. The Yasuo picks have been confusing for people. His LeBlanc has not been its normal, amazing self. And he actually has the lowest kill participation for mid laners in the North American LCS, but in Xiao fashion, that comes with the highest CS at 10 and at 20 minutes. So last year he could farm and transition that farm. This year he's just farming but not actually transitioning.
This is the guy we saw getting pentakills even in losses.
Yeah.
But none this year. Where are they?
On Yasuo.
Facing off against Impulse is Gravity, who are coming into the quarterfinals as something of a wild card now.
They can be an incredibly hard team to read for Gravity. Their champion pool includes almost every champion, but as they were saying on the analyst desk, varying degrees of success. When they're comfortable on a champion, when they've played it a lot of times, they find the success, like St. Fish's Nunu. Not the most common jungle pick, but something he has played a very long time. Because Saint's a long-standing fixture in the LCS. He's actually got about 5 years of professional experience now and has played pretty much every champion in the jungle. So when a new patch comes around, he's like, oh yeah, I remember that. I can play that.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about another player on Gravity, though, in Cop. You guys are talking about inconsistent players. Cop is I think the dictionary definition of a consistent player. He has the most deathless games in the North American LCS at 7. He has the highest kill share of any AD carry in the NALCS at 40%. It's the highest of his career as well. The competition is getting harder and harder and harder. He's the 5th place team coming in, and yet he's topping the charts in so many different metrics. Yeah. Cop also, I think, has a big benefit here in that he's got Bunny Fufu at his side in support, because Cop can keep playing these safe, sort of smart games, but Bunny makes all the plays. And we keep saying Bunny's reckless and Bunny's aggressive. He's got 3 deathless games too. Bunny's actually incredibly smart about his own play as well. And that's a good sort of duo that actually allows Gravity a lot of power in a place people just don't expect them to have it.
Just seems like those two have worked together so perfectly right off the bat since they've been put in the bot lane. And we're going to get to see if they can continue that as we check out the starting lineups. On the blue side, it will be Team Impulse. In the top lane is Impact. Jungle is Rush. Xiao in the mid lane. AD carry is Apollo. And supporting him is Adrian.
Meanwhile, on the red side, it's going to be Gravity with Hanser in the top lane, Saint Vicious in the jungle, Keen in mid, Cop on AD carry, and Bunny Fufu on support.
Yeah, and as we move into Champ Select in this game, I really wonder what Gravity's plan will be. Because I look at Team Impulse, and I feel like they have a best champion in role in almost every position. I feel like jungle is Nidalee. Top lane, probably Rumble. Mid lane, Karthus. AD carry, Graves, support Leona. That's actually what they're probably going for. So the question for Gravity becomes, how much of that do they ban? How much of that do they pick away? And how much of that do they try and get counters for?
That's absolutely true, and we talked about Gravity having a pretty good and wide champion pool. Pobelter said he thinks there's nothing left for Gravity to innovate with. We'll see if that's actually the case. There's Saints Nunu going away, and unsurprisingly, Impulse also banned the Sejuani. Rush not want to play that. You mentioned Adrian's Leona. That one's gone.
Yeah, that's going to be a Sejuani ban in every single game.
Probably.
They're actually trying to eliminate St. Fish's tank junglers and create more of a fighter jungler game where Rush has been shown superior. Already 2 of Team Impulse's top 5 lineups have been banned by Gravity.
Adrian has been able to start many things and initiate the fights coming in.
Heck?
Thought we might see an Italy from Gravity here to stop Rush from going crazy on something aggressive in the jungle, but it's a TF ban as well for the last one here, so Xiao can't add the map pressure.
Interesting that they go for the Twist of Fate ban here. That does leave the Karthus open that Xiao wanted to play. I was actually talking very briefly with one of the other guys before the cast started, and he was saying, you know, who's good against Karthus? And he was kind of talking about your point about what can you counterpick here. And I mentioned that Vlad might be really good in the lane matchup. I'm not sure if that will happen here for Kiba. That champion is left open for him. All that said, Impact gets his Hecarim for the top lane. It's a great early game lane build. He's got a lot of pressure on pushing the rest of the map around, and Gravity trying to pin down the rest of his champion pool with the quick Rek'Sai.
Yeah, and also Bunny Fufu's Thresh, 5-0 this split on that champion. Basically single-handedly won Gravity a big game last week to clinch them the playoff spot.
You're not kicking.
I'm a little bit surprised that they decided to go so quickly for the Rek'Sai with Nidalee and Lee Sin still available instead of going for something like Graves, which would both be Cop's pick.
Well, they locked in the Rek'Sai immediately, which global map pressure, right? When you get the ultimate, they ban the TF. So what do they want to do across the map with a composition like this? Is they're geared towards, you know? It's gonna be interesting. The Sivir and the Lee Sin picked up with the Hecarim.
I mean, Gravity clearly have a plan, and the plan involves a fighter jungler. When you consider they're not showing solos, they're not showing an AD carry, and they think that with the picks and bans, like Gravity are probably going to get whatever comp they want on the back half of this. And what that comp is wants Rek'Sai.
All right, Rush going with Lee Sin. Game on. But it's because they banned the tank junglers, so it is an early game pressure game, which typically favors Rush.
True.
St. Fish's is more comfortable on tanks.
Oddly enough, these quarterfinals have already been quite bloody in the beginning parts of the games. The teams are going very hard so far, as we saw yesterday. And Gravity now to round out number 3, number 4 for them. Looks like it might just be that Maokai top lane. We'll see what Cop gets for himself.
Yeah, I actually do like Ashe, by the way, but I don't think we're going to see it either way. Gravity, I want to see what this comp ends up being. Again, they've hidden almost everything. They do have some playmaking available. If they do go Kalista, I actually really like that combo. Both these guys in the dual lane can save each other. We talked about that early game pressure, the Lee Sin. Well, Bunny can play Hyper-Aggressive, or he can play Lantern Buddy for comp, and of course, Cop can do the same thing here. It's a very safe team for Gravity right now. Even the Maokai top lane's a defensive tank here, so we'll see what Keen does with his counter pick in the mid lane.
Early on in the year, week 3, Cop actually played Kalista against Impulse. It was into Apollo's Graves, who ended up going 10-1.
Yeah.
They were able to zone in and kill Cop's Kalista. They actually had Xiao on Ahri in that game as well. These last 2 picks will be very telling for Impulse, specifically because we don't know what Adrian will drop back onto, or whether or not Xiao is willing to pick Karthus in any match if it's up.
He's hovering Yasuo now. For the Impulse fans' sake, hope he doesn't go for the champion after all. Maybe he's got the plan here. They do actually have a lot of knockup synergy, though. Hecarim E, looking at Nautilus support here, Lee Sin as well. And no, it's the Vlad actually for Impulse themselves. So a lot of team fight power. And great ways to start these battles themselves.
Yeah. I like those picks.
Vladimir does eventually get picked up.
I like Vlad in this comp a lot. Vlad, I think, is very good with Sivir. We've heard many people say that they think Vlad is best when he has things like Ghost ways to get himself into the fight because he's kiteable. Sivir does that for you. He doesn't have to run Ghost. Right now, Xiao's even got Ignite on his summoner spells, but also the crowd control to start the fights out so that Vlad can be consistent follow-up here. I think it's a lot on Xiao's shoulders, and we'll see if he does put in a good performance this game.
It's going to be very critical in these fights whether or not they can lock down onto Cop, though. I think that's one of the big things about the support Nautilus pick, just clicking on Cop and going in. But then, not a huge amount of burst damage from Team Impulse. Maybe the Shields of Keen's Orianna would come in big. That is not your normal Keen outside the box pick. It's very much inside the box.
It's a very ordinary champion for Keen.
Orianna.
That's a first pick for Keen coming into the LCS here. I'm sure he has some hours on the Orianna. It's all right. It's backed by the 5-0 Bunny Fufu Thresh. The rest of the team feeling good about the composition that they've brought together here. And it looks like they got what they wanted. They locked in pretty quick in the beginning there.
Yeah, I mean, Gravity have a very defensive team comp, it looks like, right? Early Rex say, okay, there's something here, there's clearly a plan, we haven't shown any of the impact lanes. Okay, well, here's Thresh Callista. Callista's a really good hyper carry, really good mid-range damage dealer. Okay, and a defensive tank. Here's a defensive mid laner in Orianna. You can start fights out. Of course, you know, Thresh hooks are good, you can go for the ball onto the people, but this team comp is very much around Cop as the damage dealer, to me.
Well, that is how the team's actually been playing in the regular season.
Yep.
Cop is 40% of Gravity's kills. He's also had the most kills per game in any split he's played. So this very much plays around Gravity's real strengths.
Well, we'll have to see what these guys have for each other. We'll check, or going to go ahead and check out the social media. Keep tabs on everything and make sure you are getting your votes in. The predictions on this series are by tweeting hashtag TIPWin and hashtag GVWin to @LOL Esports. We'll keep those votes tallied throughout the game. Both of these teams, it was hard for teams to get a 2-0 on anybody in the head-to-head. Both of these teams have that against Coast. But Tip also has that against Gravity throughout the split. So it's going to be that momentum they're carrying in here to the first quarterfinal matchup, and if possible, best of 5. Let's see if we get all 5 of those games.
I really hope so. Both the analysts said Gravity's going to win 3-1 here. And the crowd was in favor of Team Impulse. So far, really, only Zyrene has properly predicted our quarterfinal matches. So
yeah, I rewatched both of the Tip Gravity games last night to see how the series progressed. The interesting thing is they actually played 2 games fairly early on in the season and very close to each other. They played in week 3 and then again in week 5. So there's a lot that has changed about the game since then. And the 2 games they did play, to Impulse's credit, were very different in success cases. The first game was very close. The second game was a 24-minute victory for Team Impulse. So it did seem like they were learning how to beat Gravity throughout that. With that being said, these are very different team compositions than either of the games they played outside of the Callista pick for Cop.
Absolutely, but right now, as we get ourselves early on into this game, 5 weeks after they first matched, we're going to see Gravity will be looking at 2-on-2 against Impulse here. Early wards come out, they've got control of that western jungle, and Impulse says, oh, there's a Callista. Never mind. What are you trying to do, Apollo? You recalled and stopped.
Well, did he dodge the wards?
I don't believe he got seen. He did what happened in the series yesterday. He runs up to the lane at the start.
Except this time there's no person to check that brush. So this is actually an unscouted lane swap here. They did scout Nautilus though, so it kind of defeats the purpose.
Oh well, 2-on-2 lane happily found, and we typically consider Callista good against Sivir, so something that Gravity might very much want here unless Impulse can outplay.
He's going to find out that didn't do very much good. Just a few seconds. Tries to get the freeze on the way, but like you guys said, they are going to match up. Interesting here, Cop on the Callista now. Usually when we see that with a Corki, they will try to go for the 2v1 and have him safe farming. So we'll see how they approach that now with the lanes all evened out. Xiao taking a bit of early damage from a fast level 2 from Keen.
Yeah, I really like that. Double sapling into the Raptor camp. Toss a Q in there. Keen gets an early lane lead. Vladimir's going to get pushed around a bunch early on. Oh, that's a good hook, though. Okay, some damage.
I think we're going to see a few of those.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Bunny on Thresh. You're going to see a lot of those. I actually like that Cop also started with the W on Callista. Thresh, granted, there's professionals here. They're really good at League of Legends, but you can occasionally miss those last hits for Thresh because he doesn't actually count as melee using the Targons. But with the Sentinel learned, it's really easy. So, quick 2 CS for Bunny Fufu.
See if St. Vicious can keep all the control necessary to keep Rush out of the jungle here. We know him to be very aggressive. Saint really trying to make an impact on these games for the team. Calling shots from the jungle. Looks like the first one's going to be towards top lane.
Yeah, there's no wards in that top lane right now for Impulse, so Saint has a clean path in for that gank. Oh, Adrian may be dead.
That's a hook on in. Adrian's going to lose a whole lot of health, and the kill goes over to Cop. First blood, Gravity.
I mean, a very non-standard jungle path right there from St. Vicious because of the fact that both duo lanes started off in the top. St. Vicious doesn't even go towards his own blue buff. I mean, it was completely unexpected for Impulse to read that jungle path, and it ends up working out huge for them.
Well, being on the top side, it looks like they get a little bit out of that. Now we'll see if they get something out of St. Vicious being on the bottom, and he heads towards Haunser. Brings Chilling Smite out of the base as he comes through with that gold. And it looks like Cop, no rush to push this lane. They're just kind of hanging out, making sure Apollo has a hard time here.
This is now on Rush to try and make it back, which is a very dangerous feeling to be in as a jungler. But the way Impulse has beaten Gravity typically has been Rush taking over the game early. The fact that Gravity has picked her Rek'Sai into the Lee Sin and then had St. Vicious with the larger immediate impact in the game is huge for Gravity, because even Last Shadow in the pregame interview said he's really confident in his team post 30 minutes. When we've watched all the close games Gravity has been in over the year, they win the close games. It's when they get blown out that they struggle. A start like this is critical for Gravity.
Well, that style for Saint is something we used to hit like a broken record. Saint being involved in First Blood, Saint being involved in First Blood.
Yeah.
We didn't see it as much this year for sure.
Looks like he's back on style though, and I mean, what better time to really turn up than right now with the Gravity lineup? And we saw their former sister team in Team Liquid kind of do the same thing. They finally came together, had an absolutely amazing series yesterday, and looks like the pressure is still on.
Yep. Now
everyone else is in base, so there's very little safety here for Impact to be up this far.
There it is. Get the top jungle, gank top lane, and get the bottom jungle, gank bottom, but I think there's a little too much damage to Haunter before the initial gank came through, so Impact's able to squeak out of that one.
Strong horse.
Strong horse.
Saint still had flash though there. If he wanted to play hyper-aggressive, he could have gotten another knockup off the Unburrow, and maybe risked the kill in the escapeless Impact, but safer choice there for St. Vicious, and that means, of course, right away, Adrian gets the time to put some wards down. 2 greens and a pink in inventory. His first recall was for wards and nothing else. And maybe St. Vicious' next gank won't work because of that one deep ward.
See if that helps. Adrian making sure they have a little bit safer of a time up here in the top lane. It's usually not a lane that dies right away. We see that tip bottom lane being very consistent in their ways. Not winning the lane, but not being a source of why the team is down in gold. Let's see though. Those wards will keep them safe. St. Vicious is going to stick to his jungle. Haunter looking to make a play here. 300 HP is definitely a possibility for a kill.
Oh wow, it's greedy by Impact, but Lee Sin's right there in the river. I think Unseen Haunter goes in. This is a big risk.
That's a bait.
He missed. He twisted advance the minion. Oh, no!
Wouldn't have killed him anyway. Really smart bait by Impact. He had to rely on the fact that Rek'Sai wasn't there, but Rek'Sai got seen by a ward in top jungle, so they knew no counter gank for Saint. They know all the inputs left available. Really smart play.
First off, Haunter needs to play that properly in order to have a chance. Second off, if he does play it properly, it still doesn't work. That was Impact in a very safe situation, turning that kill around. It's actually kind of a disaster. Haunter does not necessarily play well from behind. When I look at him as a player, I remember the Zion Spartan game where he was down 100 CS to him, but I also remember some team fighting moments on Maokai where Haunter absolutely crushed. He doesn't do well to create his own advantages, so when he's fallen behind against Impact, it spells trouble.
Here's the chance in. Xiao then at 200 health. Looks like Flash Q won't come out, but maybe Hecarim does. Keegan getting pushed around.
Teleport coming from the top side. Holy moly, it's a party in the mid lane, and they get keen on that one.
How many missed skill shots and still get the kill? Hecarim ult missed right there. Nautilus missed, but he still went down because that was just an accumulation of map pressure right there in order to close that kill down onto Keen.
Not when you miss Hecarim, no fear factor at all. But either way, Adrian got his really...
Terrified, technically?
Yeah, whatever.
Oh, whoop. One hook hits, one hook miss. Whoa, Rush. A little bit of that aggressive tendency, but he looks like he has the safety to get out there.
He's hitting his skill shots.
Yeah.
That's when you really need to hit. Otherwise, Lee Sin doesn't do anything early game. All right, so Impulse, hey, good job by them to get the game back in. And look at this. Wow.
Early home guard.
Oh, yeah.
So far away.
Whiff.
It's a good sidestep. He was aimed on the path Keen was going.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't really flame him.
Rush landed it all.
Yep.
That's all that matters. Still got the assist, still got the kill. Still allowed Xiao to survive that early laning phase. Vladimir getting closer to level 9 where he will look to take over.
Yep, Revolver and 7, pretty much good enough to not get pushed around too hard. Impact, though, still wanting to fight. Just Merc Treads. Low on mana, though. Haunter, he's getting hurt pretty hard. This could be the kill, actually. He has to flash away. Jeez, yeah.
That's what happens a lot of times. If Hecarim gets a lead in that lane, especially since it's a very top lane focused game as far as where St. Vicious and Rush have been going, it's going to be ISO down there and it's going to be a really hard time on Haunter.
Once he starts coming back with damage, big pain for Haunter. See this top lane getting pushed in here. Rush slowly waiting in the wing, but St. Vicious is just as ready. Rush's ultimate providing a bit of damage here. That's kind of the factor that's going to top off the kill.
Rush was actually spotted by a ward when he approached that lane, so that's why St. Vicious was up there. One of those nice deep lane wards that you don't see often in the top lane, but it was here this time. Cop and Bunny played this just right.
A really nice job getting out of this one. Rush gonna lose some time. Has the ulti, no flash, but certainly a champion that can pick up some kills if he finds himself a gank. Right now, they're not the case. So, equal laning phase overall. A couple kills back and forth. Minions being traded overall. Apollo, despite his lane mate giving up first blood, actually now winning in minions against Cop. So, second half of the laning phase going quite well.
Yeah, they've recovered from the first blood early and been able to shove in the Callista Thresh pretty nicely. Cop does not appear to be going for that early Hurricane that we sometimes see from Callista, instead just going BF Sword, which will not help against Apollo shoving him in repeatedly.
Well, Saint's going to go ahead and get this dragon since Keen did not get that blue. That might have been a mistake. He's got a lot of mana in the mid lane.
Yeah, look how hard he's hurting now. Xiaowei Xiao just goes for a random all-in because he can't.
He has no flash.
The mistakes
He's just trying to get him out of lane.
Yeah. It's going to be a nice recall, but St. Vicious at the same time.
Yeah.
Unwarded gets himself a dragon for the team, and he can soak up that mid lane wave afterwards. So I can't say all is bad for Gravity here, but Xiaowei Xiao looks like, as we asked what kind of player he'd be in this game, so far the Vladimir is pretty nice.
Playing it strong, hard to gank Vlad in the mid lane. We saw that yesterday, just kind of pulling out easy. Oh, gank onto Hanser here. Remember that flash is down from the last engage. Getting that cripple on. Trees already move really slow if you've ever seen a tree move anyways. Hanser's gonna die in this one. Impact finally gets himself one on that. A second one, I should say. I thought that was his assist, but they get it.
And this is kind of going towards the script that did win for Team Impulse. Jungle top lane pressure, and how is Gravity going to respond to that? St. Vicious feels strong. He's going in, trying to save this turret.
He's trying to clear the wave here. Maybe that's all. No, the flash is in. Rush has the mechanics to get back in range.
Not good. Not good call at all there by St. Vicious. The Lee Sin ultimate was still up. That is the largest threat skill. St. Vicious is not a tank. He has a warrior enchantment. Right there, Impact and Rush pick up an easy second kill, extending that top lane jungle lead. Impact and Rush, the two Koreans on this Team Impulse team, are crushing.
This is one of those games for Impulse right now where you pretty much go to lane and you get to back and buy your spikes every time. Back, buy another spike. It's going to be painful for Gravity soon.
It's a really nice place to be in for that Gravity sort of, I almost call it a duo lane, Rush and Impact, just able to do what they want. Yeah. It's even nice having home guards on Hecarim, because you'll get to the lane sooner than Maokai anyway. To Hanser's credit, he was keeping up minion kills. Like, that CS differential is still really close to equal. Problem is, just Rush did a way better job ganking that lane than St. Vicious did. All said and done. But you're seeing, like, that's the dual lane that we were talking about. That's the difficulty. Oh, but the play! I think they might get nothing for this one. They got to pull the rest of the team out, and St. Vicious, of course, about to be locked down under the turret. Very low impact comes in, and it's going to be 2 more kills. Over-dived by Gravity.
This game may be getting out of hand. There's Rush!
Ooh, Buddy Fufu, just a few more kicks. Gets a good cook in there, but he gets hooked himself. Eye for an eye, says Adrian. He saves Rush.
3-4-0. Gravity needs to get lane pressure off of this one. Teleporting in on an overdive of Gravity, trying to make a play, knowing they're behind, and they're punished even harder. This game is definitely getting out of hand. Home guard can save the turrets too.
Look at that. Yeah, no pressure at all from Hanser. He's not getting anything done. Great, you're up 9 minions, who cares? Impact's back into lane already.
303 on Hecarim too. That's scary. I wonder if Hanser's just going to try and stay for this turret. He can't.
Give away another kill? No way.
He can't.
Lee Sin's even on the way over in case Hanser does stay. Right? Low health turret, maybe the team of Gravity shows up.
Right.
Impulse already ready for that play before Gravity even thinks of doing it themselves.
Do this again, because there was a whole lot of what just happened here.
Well, for one, Gravity may not have expected Nautilus to be there, but they have to at least respect that the support's coming back to lane. It's incredibly hard to dive through a Nautilus. Adrian soaks up everything, slowing people and ulting Cop, so Apollo gets out of there pretty scot-free. And even without the Impact teleport, I think Impulse starts cleaning up that fight. Look out, Hanser.
Maybe he's durable enough, but the turret goes down first, meaning he's no longer got any defense in this one. It's a 1 versus 2. The ulti soaks up a lot, but Rush's kick, it's down. Is the damage high enough? Yes, it is. Another kill for Rush. Apollo gets himself an assist as the lane is swapped to push more turrets down.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening. They're going to continue this push on lane. Gravity trying to take a turret in response, but they're down 8 kills to 1, guys.
This is going to be difficult. Usually we see, or have seen in the past, the Rek'Sai being able to tunnel to turret and protect what's happening, but Apollo and the rest of the team have just had too much brute force when they get those fight wins, and they're going right through to the turrets as well. A second tier here on the bottom side of the map coming in for Impulse. Is this top side of the map one saved here by Rush and Impact? Yes, it is.
You can see, interestingly, sort of the style that Impulse chose to use here. Very actually smart that they actually knew what resources were required. If I was there in Impulse's shoes, I would have kept the lane, bottom lane, to like make sure the turret goes down. Impulse knew better. They knew Sivir would solo the tier 2 turret. Impact recalling defends their own tier 2. Okay, a blue buff gets taken, but Gravity, that's just a good play by them in the first place. Really smart choices. Another fight in the mid lane here.
That's the level 11 for Xiao as well, so that's going to be big damage from him coming from that Hemo Plague, just leveled up. They're going to be able to take that fight on Keen.
This game is a whole punch of Impulse having more people in fights than Gravity does, almost again and again. Even though St. Bitches did have good early game pressure, the ward control, everything else is just being taken over by Team Impulse. This is kind of what they've been praised for near the end of the year, is surprisingly their team play and their overall rotations. Rush is just being a jerk right now.
Well, he stood still to stop Tremor Sense. St. Bitches unburrows, and he doesn't know that Rush is still there. Man, that was nearly a kill again.
Playing in the mind of your opponent right now is how they are playing. They don't even have to think of what they're doing next. They can just pretty much do what Gravity is doing. 50 seconds on the clock, and that might just be taking Gravity's blue, Gravity's top turret, and that dragon is going to be theirs too.
Wow, they have so much control over this game. They're up almost 7,000 gold 15 minutes in. This is one of the largest leads I have seen Impulse or any team ever.
You said the second game was a fast one, Jat.
They swept the turrets right there. The second time these guys did play each other, it was a fast one. The third game, maybe even faster. Honestly, though, they picked the Lee Sin. Team Impulse was not willing to play the late game scaling game. They wanted to rush and play impulsive. All of their, everything they want to do.
Quick shot, please.
It's true. When they announced their team name, it was because they wanted to play impulsive. They said that on their website.
That's true.
Rush, he picks his name because that's how he wants to play as well. It's in the name, but it's in their play style too.
Yeah, and the mid laner's got to have a little smile on his face right here as Impulse feeling good about how much they are in control. Gravity, they're not laying over. All right, they got the first dragon. They, in fact, rush back down for the second dragon. They know the timer themselves, and they feel confident to look for a team fight here. It's going to be a bit of a desperation attempt. The rest of Impulse are here.
Even if they get the dragon, they got to run.
This would be one of the first times we see that 5v5. Can they get in range for the depth charge? Adrian's ultimate is down, so they only have the close engage. Three-man shockwave. Impact on the side as well. Tries to bump out of that one. Onslaught of Shadows goes through. It's going to be Xiao picking up Haunter. They're starting to drop left and right on the side of Gravity, and only Impact has gone down. Cop gets the depth charge, locked up, knocked down, and that's going to be Rush picking up another one.
That fight would have been so good if Gravity had any gold at all. They played that amazingly well. They kited the team back. The shockwave was great, but Impulse know they could win any fight they possibly take. You can see the proof right there.
Yeah, that was the gold lead right there. That's pretty much all that fight was. It's good that Gravity was able to delay Impulse from getting that one dragon, especially because Impulse already has so many stats built up, AD and AP, that the extra 6% would have been quite beneficial for them. But they still lost the fight. They're still down in gold, and it's kind of delaying the inevitable, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't think they should have stayed to pick the fight afterwards. Haunter TP'd in.
I think they were trying to run.
Well, you can watch. Like, they actually go to re-engage after the Ren comes through.
Yeah, well, you land a three-man shockwave. This is the best fight Gravity was going to get, right? They TP in right here. They don't get hard initiated on. Haunter is in the middle of everyone, and they get a four-man shockwave, right? Then they throw Bunny Fufu in for another two-man knockup.
Plays him.
They're not going to get better than that, so I don't discredit Gravity for taking a fight once the shockwave goes down. It's just hopeless at that point, though, because you're not going to find a better fight than that, and they still lost.
Yeah, that's a fair point, chat. And you can see it looked close a little bit until Impulse just had too many stats to get knocked down here.
And there's only going to be more of a disadvantage. Apollo did that fight with less than the 2,800 gold, but that's what he went back with. He just spent 3,000 gold, so it's going to sting a little bit as he comes back out throwing boomerangs. Right now, he's in the top lane. Nobody's contesting this one. The members of Impulse, again, to take down the second-tier turret. They may lose their bottom. Actually, nope, never mind. Impact's going to be there in time.
Impact's always there on time. You can say that whenever you want, pretty much. Recall in. Gravity may stay for it. Impact knows how desperate it's going to be and dives right on a cop at the very start of it all. I don't think she can kite this.
They lost the turret.
You're going to get some damage, but Rek'Sai ults out. All right.
Later.
Safe. Okay. I can't say that was wrong, but
a bit of worth there.
That's worth.
For sure.
I'd do that.
I could do that. That's good.
I said I would do that.
That makes it right.
I'd fail at it, but...
So we got a minute coming up onto Baron. Impulse does have Cop down, so a little bit of pressure is thought they could move towards mid. And the clear of Keen is enough to stop them in their tracks down. Now with that, Athene's coming back out. We are on 5.6, remember, now in these quarterfinals in the playoffs.
Yeah, I do like the Athene's pickup. I'm actually a little bit surprised that we're seeing so many aggressive mages. I mean, I guess like Vladimir's not really a lane bully here, but like with Athene's being better, it's like easier to be safe against magic damage mid laners and be a safe mid laner yourself.
Right. I mean, getting spammed by a guy with no mana.
Right. Right. Athene's gives you 40 magic resist and you have enough mana regen to survive the lane. But hey, I mean, well played Xiao. He's held a CS lead. He's team fought rather well. Can't really complain.
Yeah, I'm looking at this game overall, and you can see that the tools Impulse has to siege are actually quite low. Plus the wave clear gravity is decent. The Orianna, Maokai, Kalista could probably claim, yeah, if they do the Hurricane, could clear waves. However, Impulse has just created so much early pressure that they may have the gold to dive those. The fact that they've killed the 5 turrets, only suffered 2 deaths, 13 player kills, are giving them the gold value to just go where they want, even when it's not safe. If this was an even game and Gravity had not been crushed so heavily in the early match, I think they'd be doing all right. But at this point, they're doing well to keep the gold lead at 7,000. They lose one more fight, though, and it's probably over.
I think it was you that said that, Freak, that the double duo lane, if you could call it, Impact and Rush won. Both 4-0 and
that's what it was this game.
4-1 and 6.
Rush was just buddied up with Impact, and they were killing everyone.
Well, it seemed to work out. Seemed to work out very well. Minute and a half on Dragon, 20 minutes on the clock here as Impulse lays some deep wards to make sure Gravity has a very small chance of coming back here. Keen finally gets that blue, though.
Yeah, what I want to see here actually is how does Impulse play the next 10 minutes and how much does LS learn from this? Because you don't expect your next game to be this bad at the very start. Yeah, okay, no chase. And so you say, okay, how does Impulse push when they do have a lead? Maybe not a 9,000 gold lead, but you know, if it's a 2,000 gold lead, and what lessons can you learn so that when you play them again in game 2, to have a much better chance at coming back from an early death?
Yeah, and a lot of the first game of best of 5s can be feeling someone out. We saw Unicorns of Love versus Gambit. Unicorns got crushed in game 1, and then won the next 3 in the series. It is very possible that this is not the tail of the series. They're trying to dive, though. Let's see how it works.
Oh, Onslaught right behind the turret. Xiao is in. He gets a good AoE down, but I don't think it's going to be enough to finalize any kills. That gives Gravity some time to fight from the back line, but looks like Tip, as you were saying, too much aggression and also a little too tanky to go down there and still adding pressure.
Still only 1 kill, and Impact ended up going fairly low off that. You can see the difficulties they actually have in sieging the turrets, but they take down their 6th. Now they can pressure Baron.
Wow, he just teleports right back in. He was just at like 12% health. Now he's full fighting the Baron here. TP in from Hanser. You can see Gravity want to fight over these objectives. They refuse to say die, but no one's even around to really contest for this one.
Suicide mission.
Q?
Not today.
Nope. Would be unlikely.
The Rend heard around the world.
Okay, so let's actually kind of look back at what happened this game to give Team Impulse such a huge advantage. And it all kind of started with Impact and Rush bodying Hanser and St. Vicious in that bottom lane. It was an incredibly isolated experience where they didn't actually have a sustained lane swap. They didn't have good ward coverage. So maybe Gravity goes for a more lane swap heavy game. Have a fight, though, at Dragon. Impulse trying to get there first. They should. Gravity doesn't want to let him, though. Oh, no.
Xiao stuck in the backside. Will Cop turn around for that one? No, he's getting beset by Lee Sin right there, but they do get the kill on the misposition Xiao. The fight continues. Shoggo hits a few, but Rush still there for Cop. Knocks down the AD carry. There's all the damage of Gravity. Out goes the team. And it's going to be Impulse picking up more on the backside. Hanser, the last man left alive. Tries valiantly, but the Summoner Heal keeps Adrian alive. Double kill. Apollo 3-0-8. Get a Dragon.
Was he holding his ult there? Or he just used it at the end to pretty much save Adrian?
Impulse
what
is
a fight,
fighting
though.
so frequently that their ultimates are coming up mid-fight. It's getting kind of hard to track at certain points. Xiao
everywhere.
Another gold lead fight right there that wasn't even that great of a fight, but they ended up crushing. This is kind of the way that most of Team Impulse's games go during the year. They get such a huge lead that they can then play incredibly free later on in the game. Xiao dies before anything matters. Rush jumps into 4 people. The Shockwave only hits 1, but it's a tank. and then Apollo flashes through the middle of the team to go after an Orianna. These are things you can only do with the 10,000 gold lead, but because they have it, they get a 5-for-2 fight.
You know what's crazy? This game reminds me of Gravity's very first game of the split against Winter Fox. They got behind really hard early on and just kept trying to fight to like hope there'd be a misplay and then get back in. 19 kills in 24 minutes is really rare. That's a lot of kills because Gravity keeps fighting these guys. And it gets worse and worse.
Brings
and worse.
that LMQ mentality. If you die, spawn as fast as possible and run back to the fight.
I mean, it's funny. We talked about Xiao having the highest CS at 10 and 20 and the lowest kill participation.
Yeah.
He's participated in less than 50% of his team's kills, once again. This is very much impact and rush.
Yeah.
The impact and rush show. A lot of the times they 4-man mob, with Xiao often farming a different lane. Xiao is still getting the minion wave pressure for them. It's just, it's very telling that the stats are showing again in the game.
Highest CS in the game, lowest KP on his team, yeah. More of the same, mid lane's gonna go down. There's the inhibitor turret, 25 minutes in, hook on a Hanser. There's the engaged shockwave, only gets Adrian. Pretty useless there, 1 kill picked up. Bunny Fufu hooks him into the front line, but Impact diving all the way back, and Keen's gonna go down too. Now Cop, the set by Rush, but dies all the same. Picked him in, flashes afterwards. Bunny Fufu doesn't land the hook because of ward hop away, but looks like Gravity's kind of outside of their own base. Mid lane inhibitor goes down. Team Impulse with complete control, as always.
Baron Buck, one of the fastest games we've seen so far in the playoffs. 25 minutes, Impulse gonna take game 1.
Ridiculous play from Champion Select to the start of the game to thwart out a first blood and make sure they had the advantage. Like you said, Jat, 25 minutes in, padding the KDAs a little bit more as they keep Gravity on their fountain. Team Impulse is gonna take game 1 over Gravity.
Well, a nice very early start by Gravity, but we said on paper the top lane and the jungle matchups were probably the most Team Impulse-sided ones. And lo and behold, the Team Impulse top lane and jungler go fight Hanser, go fight St. Vicious, and just all the plays Impact and Rush were able to make, making a case for early game fighters.
This is a scary moment for Gravity after this game 1, because if we look at the ideal team comp, the most winning champions of Impulse during the regular season, they had none of them in that 5-man team. That was their B squad of champions. That's scary.
Can you really say that Rush's Lee Sin is his B squad, though? I realize no one else plays.
Okay, so his Lee Sin is arguably his A squad. But the overall point,
you're right,
for Apollo,
average
Rumble
the
for
average,
Impact.
right? Bring it down.
Leona,
yeah,
right? Like,
some of them,
you're right.
Some of them they didn't even pick. We've seen teams do this before where they have their best champions and they don't show them in game 1.
No, you're
when
right.
they know they're better than the opponent.
Game 1 is the game to do that in, right? You have the most time to play with afterward. Even if it goes wrong, you still have the default game to go back to.
Yeah, and now you got to wonder, like, what does Gravity do to switch to this, right? The ban's coming out, right? Okay, they risked leaving the cards open. That worked okay, I guess. But yeah, the bans come out and they're like, well, the Lee Sin was still pretty good. Did we need that Rek'Sai after all? Like, the Hecarim did all kinds of crazy, dirty things to Hanser. Do we need that Rumble ban after all? And
the ban strategy from Impulse was nice. Take away the tanks that could neutralize Rush. Nunu is a very neutralizing jungler.
Yeah.
Sejuani is a late-game jungler that makes you snowball, but the pressure was off there.
Well, it's crazy. They were counter-engaged junglers too, right? Yeah. Dive on in, absolute zero, separate the team. You know, like dive on in, Sejuani Glacial Prison stops your dive, clearing the tracks. And you're right, those things were gone. Impulse banned away counter champions to the Impulse style, and it clearly succeeded. The early pressure was great. Yep. I think the game played the way Impulse expects to play, and whether Rush learns tanks or not, if you can win 25-minute games, you don't need late-game scaling tanks.
Yeah, I think you can see a lot by looking at the way that Gravity beat Team Solo Mid. Tanks, very long fights. That Sej, that Urgot, both of those are on the ban list this game. That's the forte of Gravity. They want to stay on the fight for a long time in skirmish. For more on Team Impulse's decisive first win of the series, we're going to send it over to the guys on the analyst desk.
Thank you, gentlemen. 25-minute win for Impulse. That's an incredible way to start off a series, and that's after a really solid first blood by Gravity, which suggested they had a decent game plan, at least for the early game going in, but then things kind of felt like they crumbled a bit.
Yeah, so Impulse had Hecarim, and so that's why Gravity went with the duo top lane. Impulse luckily guessed or read that somehow, and then they also sent their duo top, and already that's a really bad start because against Hecarim, you want to be constantly denying him farm or diving him or just making sure he doesn't get farmed at all. And then even then, a Hecarim that's down some CS is still pretty fine for the Hecarim. And if he's doing even, it's pretty good still. If he was winning like how he was against Maokai and bottom, then that's it's really bad for Gravity because he can just TP with his home guard boots and then pretty much get a kill every time his TP's up.
Yeah, Alex, we saw some over-aggression come out of Gravity. After getting that first blood, we saw both solo laners attempt kills by themselves in their lanes and having them turned around, which proved to be rather detrimental when you're giving a kill over to Hecarim and to a Vladimir ultimately in those two lanes.
Well, I think that only the kill on Hecarim was that important because it like opened up the Hecarim because like Maokai used his TP and Hecarim still got his TP and then he uses it in like the best way possible. He snowballs the mid lane back and then Vladimir starts winning when he's the scaling champion and the Hecarim is winning when he's the scaling champion. So basically two lanes that should be losing they're winning. So it's like pretty grim. And Rush got really going and he's showing why he favors Lee Sin so much. I think that like overall the aggression at like I would say bot lane, but like for top laners, that's what I mean, was really strange from Maokai because his solo kill potential is not that high. And also I think that they got really good like 2v2 with Maokai and Rek'Sai. So maybe after Rek'Sai got killed like at the dual lane, he should have like gone faster to the bot lane because like Rush, he was behind in CS because he wasn't farming that much, but his ganks were really, really good. And I think that was like the thing of the game. That's why I think they picked Lee Sin over other champs because they really wanted to like they got really weak early champs and they really wanted to boost them up with a really strong jungler, and that's what they did perfectly.
Yeah, let's talk about that for just a moment. We saw Rush pick up the Lee Sin, as you said, early aggressive champion in this tank meta that people can't seem to no one else can seem to understand how to play these early aggressive champions, but he also chose Lee Sin while Nidalee was still up.
I think that just has to do with Rush's extreme confidence in playing Lee Sin. You know, on Twitter he's always like, you know, these teams better ban Lee Sin against me. And that's just his most comfortable and favorite champion. I was actually surprised too because he seems like a really good Nidalee player too, and I think that Nidalee is stronger than Lee Sin in almost every category right now.
All right, well, it was a pretty one-sided game. As you said, we saw the Hecarim get pretty out of control, those solo laners dominating. We are going to step away for a while the teams regroup for our second match between Gravity and Team Impulse. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more of the 2015 Spring Playoffs in just a moment.
I always feel like a little tense when the game's like about to start, and then the moment I get in the game, I'm just like... I have to poop.
I think they might get nothing for this one. They got to pull the rest of the team out, and St. Visions, of course, about to be locked down under the turret. Very low impact comes in.
Oh, three-man shockwave impact on the side as well. Tries to bump out of that one. Onslaught of Shadows goes through.
But they do get the kill on the mispositioned Xiao Wei Xiao. The fight continues. Shockwave hits a few, but Rush still there for Cop. Knocks down the AD carry. Pretty useless there. One kill picked up. Bunny Fufu hooks him into the front line, but Impact diving all the way back, and Keen's going to go down too.
One of the fastest games we've seen so far in the playoffs. 25 minutes, Impulse going to take game one.